पूरी दुनिया की निगाहें G20 समिट पर है और कई ऐसे महत्वपूर्ण मसले हैं अंतर्राष्ट्रीय अर्थव्यवस्था को लेकर, ग्लोबल पॉलिटिक्स को लेकर, जिस पर आम सहमति बनने की उम्मीद है। मेरे साथ यूनाइटेड नेशंस सेक्रेटरी जनरल के मुख्य प्रवक्ता स्टीफेन डुजारिक हैं। फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन ऑफ कोर्स रिलेट्स टू what is the big outcome United Nations expect from the India presidency and the G20 summit?
What we want to see, what we would like to see is a united voice. For our part on the issues that we're really focused on is on climate, on sustainable development. We're very confident of the Indian presidency of their G20, but the Secretary General is here to deliver some pretty direct messages that those leaders around the table, the 20 largest economies, have a responsibility to move forward on climate, to invest in sustainable development, to do what they need to do and what they have the power to do to help make the world a better place.
Right. You talked about climate. Now, climate change is one issue on which United Nations has been pushing the global community. And we are still far behind the SDG targets that were set in 2015. What are the main areas that you want the G20 summit to focus on when it comes to attaining these climate change-related goals?
Well, it is on issues of just transitions to clean energy, right? The removal of coal from our energy choices, in a sense, the stopping of mining for new coal, the stopping of use of coal. Of course, all this needs to be phased out because economies need to adapt, especially developing economies need to adapt. Those countries that have the finances and that have the technology also need to help and need to share. Those countries, especially the rich countries that pledged a lot of money in Paris and in Glasgow, need to live up to their promises. But there needs to be courageous political decisions taken, not just here at the G20, but also very much at the COP meeting, at the climate change summit that will take place in December.
United Nations Secretary General has said this many times, that climate change is running much faster than we are. And of course, we are now in a situation where in different parts of the world, there are abnormal changes in the weather, and the consequence we have seen. Exceptional disaster incidents have happened. In India, we have been through a very difficult monsoon phase this time in Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. From the disaster risk reduction point of view, there was a working group meeting, there have been agreements. What do you expect the G20? Because what is also important is that United Nations, China, India, these are three among the most vulnerable from the disaster point of view countries in the world. From the disaster risk reduction point of view, what should be the outcome? What are the deliberations?
One of the things we're very interested in is early warning systems. And this is something the Secretary General has been pushing member states to do, to invest in early warning systems. Early warning systems save lives. And we know, we've seen in Japan what they have put together. Japan has great technology on this issue, but other countries need to move forward on this. And those who have the resources and the technology need to assist and help those who don't. I mean, you're right. We're seeing, I mean, just today I was looking at at Hong Kong, and this just incredible pictures of the rain in Hong Kong, turning streets into raging torrents. As you say, we've seen it in India, but we've seen horrendous weather this year all over the place. The fires in Canada, the fires in Greece, and now Greece, after having suffered so many fires, is suffering from floods. The climate breakdown is here, right? We've just lived through the hottest summer on record. If this isn't a wake-up call, yet another wake-up call, we don't really know what is, but what we do know what we need is strong political leadership.
And climate finance in this context becomes important because this is part of a key agenda item of the G20 summit?
Yes, of course. I mean, you can't do anything without money. I mean, it's a pretty clear thing. So we need those countries that pledged to actually pay up and give the money or lend the money that they have pledged to do.
So these companies have not kept their commitment so far?
I mean, we know that a lot of the commitments made in Paris and in other climate summits have not been kept.
Right. One last question. This is about the changing the name of a country. Now, there's several countries in the past, the history shows, have changed their names. In India also, there is a debate, India versus Bharat. How do you see this debate that is panning out now?
It is not for us to insert ourselves into a national debate. As you rightly point, since the creation of the UN in 1945, we've seen many countries change their names. They all have their internal processes to do it. Once that process works out or doesn't work out, we are informed that there is a name change officially and that the name is changed within the United Nations context. But it is not for the Secretary General to insert himself into that debate.
Into that debate. But do you think that this debate, of course, if it leads to an outcome, then United Nations then can make those changes?
Well, it's a very... Let me just say what we've seen in the past, right? Most recently, Turkey, which used to be known in English as Turkey, informed us that they wanted their name changed within the UN context. They asked us, and we, as long as the formalities have done, it's done. Other countries have also changed their names. So from our standpoint, it's a bureaucratic issue of what needs to be done within the UN context. Obviously, in every country, it is a debate, it is a process, but we do not want to insert ourselves into that debate.
Right, but the official procedures exist. So if a country officially requests you for a name change,
history has shown that it's happened a number of times.
Processes exist.
Indeed.
Thank you very much for talking
My
to
pleasure.
NDTV. यूनाइटेड नेशंस हेडक्वार्टर से मेरे कैमरा सहयोगी अश्विनी मेहरा के साथ हिमांशु शेखर, एनडीटीवी इंडिया.
Grab some
Sir,
water.
it's a great feedback, sir. We'll just take some shots.
No problem. These guys showed up first.
And we got a gift from you.
But it is not for the Secretary General to insert himself into that debate.
Into that debate. But do you think that this debate, of course, if it leads to an outcome, then United Nations then can make those changes?
Well, it's a very... Let me just say what we've seen in the past, right? Most recently, Turkey, which used to be known in English as Turkey, informed us that they wanted their name changed within the UN context. They asked us, and we, as long as the formalities have done, it's done. Other countries have also changed their names. So from our standpoint, it's a bureaucratic issue of what needs to be done within the UN context. Obviously, in every country, it is a debate, it is a process, but we do not want to insert ourselves into that debate.
Right, but the official procedures exist. So if a country officially requests you for a name change,
history has shown that it's happened a number of times.
processes exist.
Indeed.
Thank you very much for talking
My
to
pleasure.
NDTV. यूनाइटेड नेशंस हेडक्वार्टर से मेरे कैमरा सहयोगी अश्विनी मेहरा के साथ हिमांशु शेखर, एनडीटीवी इंडिया.